be a Lone Ranger. So just state your names and,
I'm Matt Eliason. I'm the chairman of the Deseret Hinckley Deseret Cemetery District. A little backstory of why we're here. Last year when we were setting our budget and we got looking at the numbers and in the discussion, we've got several people on the board that have been there for years and nobody remembers the last time we had a budget increase, just because of the truth in taxation and all of that. So we realized that we're gonna have to do something, and so we discussed the possibility of putting up a new maintenance shed. The one we currently have is an old restroom building that was left over from the IPP construction, and it's continually getting worse. So we thought, while we're doing truth and taxation, we'll try and make the change so we can do that. So we approached you guys, we got the loan for the building, and with that, we're gonna pay $5,000 back every year. You guys know that. What we didn't fully understand and what maybe was all the truth in taxation stuff. In my mind, not knowing anything is when we do that, we talked about it being a minimal increase, what looked like a minimal increase. Not knowing that where Hinckley and Deseret are in their own district, it's just that population. So to get any amount of money is gonna be a noticeable difference on property taxes for us in those areas. So in looking at that, and nobody seems to really understand why we're separate from the Delta Oasis Sutherland district. So we got comparing their budget versus our budget. I looked up the acres of grass. I didn't know how to make it completely fair, so I just outlined the grass areas in the cemeteries. And Delta has just over 10 acres with Oasis, Sutherland, and Delta. Between Hinckley and Deseret, we have just over 7 acres. And their budget, and looking, I don't know what this is called, the report, their budget's just under 110,000, 109,888. Ours is 25,702.
What was theirs?
109,888. So theirs comes out to, they get $10,752 per acre to maintain their cemeteries. We get 3,661. So it makes it really hard to make any improvements. We couldn't do it without a loan. But now looking at it, we haven't spent the money, we haven't built the building. We're not willing to increase the taxes or even go through the truth in taxation and ask for that, just to burden the small population we have. Not understanding why we're not just combined as a district anyways. So with that, and with the lower budget, we've been through multiple sextons or caretakers. They do the same thing for us. Deb is our secretary. She puts in way more work than anybody even knows and gets very, very minimal amount of money for it. She's done a phenomenal job, and she's let us know that at the end of the calendar year she's done. Personally, I don't think we can replace her with somebody that is willing to work for nothing and do as much as she does. We've got other board members. Skip Taylor has been on there a long time. He's gonna retire. You know, this is a non-paid job, but he's another one we can't replace. It's so hard to get anybody on the board that's willing to do the work that's needed, let alone get a good sexton that wants to take good care of the cemeteries for the amount of money we can pay, not willing. But so really what we're here to say is we can't make this work as a cemetery board. We 100% believe the commissioners need to take this on and combine the districts. I don't know if anybody from Delta, that district, is here to argue that case. I know there's been some discussion just with individuals, you know, they don't want to. I haven't had any discussion with them. But we believe that this is not fair and there needs to be a change.
Do you have the tax rates for both? Does that happen to be on that budget sheet, man?
Yeah. The tax rate for Delta is 0.000204, and ours is 0.000171.
So if you raised it to what the other properties were, what would that give you?
Well, my name is Deborah Wagner, by the way, and I'm the secretary treasurer. So if we were to increase the tax base to 0.0004, which would give us,
204, or the same as Delta.
then
No, double deltas, that's
I-
still double deltas.
if, that's not
Oh, so
even,
we
On
doubled
the
that.
tax rate,
it's,
if you go to 0.0004, that's double what deltas is.
right.
Yeah.
With our district, the numbers of people who pay property taxes toward that, that would give us about half of what the Delta Sutherland Oasis Cemetery receives in a given year. That would require us to send notices out, to go through truth and taxation. We would have to send notices out to 1,150 people respectively. And it would be an increase of 138% on their property taxes.
Just to bring in
Just to
$50,000.
bring in about $59,000. And that is just, that is a tremendous burden on people. And, how do you do that? So to your question, Commissioner, I don't know what that would actually
It wouldn't give you
provide us in the
enough.
revenue, but not enough to do anything.
Well, they've got the businesses for the most part paying
Exactly.
in.
And we don't have that.
Yeah.
So,
So,
let me just say this,
no, you can go, and then I'll go after.
so, I agree, truth in taxation is I won't say it.
Nightmare.
And I'm glad you've seen that. We wondered, do you really want to do this? However, the deficit that you're describing will then be passed to the county. So that don't take care of your deficit, then we have to pass it on. So if we can't pay our taxes, we have to go through truth and taxation. And then you have other special service districts. So should we start treating all them the same? I don't see a good resolution, but what I'm asking is, I guess it comes down to, you're asking us to do something when you can do it for yourself. If you pass that debt to us, we're gonna have to pay it. I mean, it's gonna go to all our county taxpayers, yeah, that makes it less, but it isn't that no one still don't have the responsibilities.
So I don't think they're being like that, Commissioner. I think they're being proactive, trying to solve something.
Yeah, we need to solve something, because I agree with where you're at. I just don't think the county paying for it's good stuff.
No, he didn't ask for the county to pay for it.
I'm basically telling you, we're done. This is your responsibility at this point. So what I'm asking is, why are we two separate districts? Because we are not willing to go through it for our district
Yeah.
to put that extra burden, which is totally unfair.
Here, real quick, Matt. Scott, I'm gonna invite you to come up. But before this turns into a battle that it doesn't need to be. And I don't, Scott, I've talked to Scott this morning. I've talked to Matt. I've sent an email to Christine Stanworth. It doesn't need to be a battle. But what I'm gonna ask Matt is, do you get with Christine? And I want the two boards to come together to figure this out. We can't do anything today anyway, so it's
Yeah,
not
it
a
has to
big
be an
deal.
agenda item, and it's not on the agenda.
But I had a really good conversation. Out of anybody in Millard County, Scott probably knows the most history. And I'm biased because he's always taken care of Sutherland, and Sutherland is the most well-kept cemetery in Millard County. I know Fillmore has some pretty good ones too, but it's a compliment to you, Scott. That's all I'm saying. Before I get myself in trouble, it's a compliment to Scott. But that's the step I want to take next. So I do want Scott to present what he wants, but I do want to get the two boards together to figure this out. I'm gonna ask you to get with Christina and I wanna be there, so let me know when you guys figure out a day. Because there is some issues that I think need to be addressed, but
But for you, I totally, if you want to combine him, that's a great idea. I just don't know whether everybody wants to do that, because that's a good solution.
Okay, my name is Scott Bassett, and I'm representing the Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery Maintenance District. And I appreciate Trevor sending the email to Christina, who is the board chairman of the Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery Maintenance District, because we didn't know anything about this until Trevor let us know. And Matt made a key point just a minute ago. He said there's been no discussion with the Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery Maintenance District. I'm not here to say that we aren't willing to discuss that or we are opposed to it. It's just the fact that we have not been invited to the table. And if the county commission basically is the ultimate decision maker, I mean, you could make a decision today to combine the two organizations, but I don't think that's in any way, shape, or fair transparent, and I don't think it's fair without input from
Well,
the...
I don't think we were planning on.
No,
making a
I know,
decision
but that's
that's the feeling everybody got.
that's the feeling we got.
Yeah.
We want to, we want to combine the districts. So my suggestion is just exactly like what you've suggested, that we meet together and see if we can't come to some common agreement about this. Now, as Trevor mentioned, I've been with the cemetery district since 1970s, since the 70s, when Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery District, the people that were on the board were Whitey Decker, Howard Roundy, and Brose Roberts. So I've been around for a long time. Ella Christensen was our secretary. So I think Vicki would remember Ella, but I'm not sure anybody would remember anyone else that's here. So I've been around for a long time, so I have the institutional history, basically. And so I am totally in support of us sitting down together. We did work at one time as separate entity, or as a combined entity. In fact, we came up with our bylaws, procedures, everything. So we had a very cordial relationship. About 10 years ago, we were informed by the county commission that we had to be separate entities because we were separate entities as far as the taxing records go, et cetera. We're separate districts. So we separated at that point. Not that we didn't keep in conversation with each other, but that's what is frustrating to the members of the Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery, is that we've had a positive relationship. And so going this backdoor way to suggest that they be combined without even talking to us doesn't set us in a very good
In their
effort.
defense, this isn't a backdoor thing. I've mentioned this to Christine over a year ago, and so it in one of your guys' board meetings. Now they just kind of said no, and I left it at that. So it's not an oblivious conversation to some.
Okay.
And they weren't trying to do anything backdoor. Like I told you this morning, they were coming here to talk about their truth in taxation.
Right.
And I knew it was gonna come up, and that's why I invited you to
Yeah.
come participate in the conversation. In no way was anything trying to be backdoor. If there's one, I trust a lot of people, but Matt is one I think is more fair and honest than about anybody in Millard County. So I don't like quite that accusation, because I know he has no intent, and he has just he's frustrated. It's hard to be on a chair when you're trying to be the chair and you don't have enough money, you're trying to figure things out. People don't volunteer like they used to volunteer. It is very frustrating. He's just trying to come up with a solution. But I don't think in any way, shape, or form he's trying to backdoor his district into Delta or Deseret. And I shouldn't speak for you, but
No, I totally apologize if that's the feeling we portrayed. Because like Trevor said, Trevor came to our meeting around when we were doing budget. We told him we were in trouble, and we talked about the loan and all that stuff. And he mentioned he was gonna talk to Christine about the possibility. She, I don't know if she directly told you or what, but we definitely got the feeling Delta is not interested in combining. We know other board members that we've had have had just casual conversations, and she's mentioned, no, we're not interested in this. So
And
I
nothing against
apologize, but
Christine.
we definitely
Sure.
don't think that this is just a blind slap to you.
Yeah. No, it's obvious, and we've known this for years. The Delta Southern and Oasis Cemetery District has a better taxing base
Yeah.
than Hinckley Deseret. And that's probably not fair. I'll be the first to admit that. But we just feel like we need to come together as districts. And because of my institutional history, I would like to be part of that discussion,
I
No,
think
I-
that's great.
basically, so. Anyway,
Scott, you mentioned at one time they was together at one time, so when did the separation of tax rates come?
Oh.
When they separated, did Delta raise their rate at that time? Because the rates are,
well, the rates are pretty much the same. Both of us have the opportunity to go to, as far as I understand, in talking to Marky yesterday, we can each go to the .0004. We're
Okay.
both allowed to do that, but we don't do that. We don't go take that much. I think ours is at 0.000179.
I think
Right.
00204.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, just a
can
little
they
bit
do
of.
that without going through truth and taxation then? Because you've been,
According to Bonnie,
okay, Bonnie's right behind you there. She's the law on this, by the
Yeah.
way.
So, according to Bonnie, in order for us to increase the tax base, we have to go through truth and taxation. And so in working with Bonnie, she says to me, you have to go through public, you have to get
Yeah,
permission.
it's a
You have to
pain.
go
I
through
agree.
the process of public hearings. You are required by law to provide every tax-paying resident notification in advance on what that tax base increase is gonna be. And it's just, at this particular point in time, a lot for those
For what you're gonna
individuals to
get.
bear.
It's just, yeah,
Yes.
it's a lot for what you're gonna get.
Yes, it is. So that's where we were at.
Just give a little bit of that history.
Little bit of history, and I'll be just as quick as I can. Okay, so I think the Deseret Hinckley Cemetery District actually came into place before the Delta Southern Cemetery Oasis did. But shortly after the war, World War II, the state of Utah passed legislation that you could create service districts for cemeteries. And so we took advantage of that. Hinckley Deseret did, and then Delta Southern and Oasis. None of us, I don't think is your cemetery within the city limits? I kind of don't think it is. I think it's,
Hinckley actually is.
Oh, is that?
They
Okay.
extended it out. So
and at the
it's-
time, Delta Southern and Oasis, none of us were in a city limit. I mean, Delta wasn't even, and then it's been annexed. So our district was created so that we could get taxes to run. Before then, it was all private. I mean, people just took care of their lots, et cetera. So, the county organized our district in 1948. And so we operated as separate districts, but then we found out that, Hinckley Deseret might have different burial requirements, procedures than we did, et cetera. So it was causing some conflict. So we decided to come together as boards, and we came up with common bylaws, procedures, et cetera, and we worked together for several years. But then, I don't know exactly how it happened, but we found out that we could not have combined because we're two different districts, okay? So the county commission, it was Commissioner Draper. He helped us separate. We got our bylaws, and I think they're still very much similar as far as that goes, because we've always worked together, but we found out that we couldn't do that. And one of the reasons why we found out we couldn't do that is because we had a legal issue, and we came to the county, and we were told that we were separate entities, that we were not part of the county. So we had to seek our own, expertise. And so that really surprised us when all of a sudden the counties denied us help, and now all of a sudden we find out that the county's over us and can make decisions. Because we were under the impression that even though we're a taxing entity, that we did not have representation from the county. So now I understand, because I've had the conversations with the state people, the service district, that you are our bosses, and we don't have a problem with that. But as far as the situation that we're here for today is to ask you to please allow the Delta Southern Oasis Cemetery Maintenance District to be part of this conversation and not have it be, and then we can come together with a recommendation of how to move forward. I don't think it's, I know that there have been conversations in the past, and I've been part of those conversations, when, yeah, we're really not interested because we have more money than you do. But that doesn't mean that we are not willing to discuss it. So, but I would like to be part of that,
Yeah,
because I
and
have the institutional history.
We intended on having you guys all involved, but we just didn't have it on the agenda, so it wasn't going to happen today.
We would love you to solve that problem.
Yeah,
So, Matt, I'm still
Go
gonna
ahead.
task you with getting with Christine and getting both boards all together. Let me know and let Elise know, because Elise, I would like you to be involved.
We don't need the sheriff there, will we?
She pulled up all the county records and she has them, so I would like to have her involved in this discussion. But you guys figure out what works for you, when it's best for you, and I should talk for Elise, but I'll make it work, and I think she can as well.
Yes, I will make it work too.
Ask her if it works for her, and then I'll just make whatever works for everybody, okay? I appreciate
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for coming in.
Oh, Matt, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear it. No. Yeah, we're not seeking that at this point.
Matt,
And I think you have the intent of giving the money back, is that?
Well, I don't want to overstate because we do need to get with the other district, but,
Okay. Hold on to it for a little while and then see what happens.
well, if we can come up with an agreement with them, what we would like to see happen is have this combined and take effect January 1 next year.
I don't know if that's, well,
So I don't know how it
Yeah.
works, but.
let's get together as soon as we
and-
can, because
yeah.
if that is the case and we do something, yeah, I know it will be out to be fast, if it's even possible to do in that timeframe. I'm not saying it's not, I don't know the timeframe.
Because as we've talked in the past, we don't want to combine and have a debt in our district.
Yeah, they won't want to combine with you.
No.
if you-
And so what we're looking at though, is we've carried a 10,000 capital budget because Hinckley's on a well. And if they have a problem with their well,
Yeah, it's
we
a lot
obviously don't have money in our
Yeah,
budget.
you're
We've
done.
carried that just for special circumstance. So if we can pursue this and make it happen between that capital budget and the little bit we have left, we feel like we can put up that maintenance shed and pay for that outright and just give the loan back to the county and not have any debt.
Great.
Okay. Have that be part of the discussions, be open, but let me know.
thank you.
Okay,
By the way, we appreciate all the volunteerism and the boards for the cemetery districts. They've done a great job.
report from Larson and Company on the 2024 independent audit.
Pretty soon, we won't have anybody left.
You just had to announce I was speaking.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything, Bonnie? Okay. All right, I'll be quick. I know this has been a long
Pull your
meeting for you
mic
guys.
close so we can hear you.
I thought it was
State
close
your
enough.
name. Just
All right.
asked to do that.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm John Hatterley. I'm a partner at Larson and Company, partner in charge of the audit. I actually found out that we have something in common, Commissioner Wright.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
I was also a dairy farmer.
Oh, yeah?
fact,
Well, good.
ours is the last dairy that's operating in Salem now. So we also know about the growth and people moving in, and I don't know how long it's gonna last. All right, so I'll be quick. Just want to give, the opinions that we gave as part of the audit and how the audit ended up, and then just maybe a couple of recommendations. If you want to turn to page 1 in the bound copy, we'll start with the audit report. That's the primary reason of our audit. And this opinion that we give in the audit report is directly related to the financial statements. And that's outlined in the second paragraph under that first section called opinions. It's an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. That's a clean opinion. I know those two words don't show up in there, but the language in the audit report is very accountant language, very formal. But what unqualified or unmodified means is that we didn't have to modify or change our audit report for things that came up during the audit that we could neither test or we couldn't get confirmations for, or that were misstated enough that, and we didn't know what the balances were. That changes our opinions and it changes the audit report. We have to modify our report. That's why they call it unmodified.
So that's good.
Yep, that's good. That's clean opinion. Just want to point out your responsibilities of management. You're responsible for the financial statements and their fair presentation, as well as the accounting records. One of the things that Bonnie calls me quite often on is internal controls. In fact, we just had a conversation yesterday about controls and identifying risk and how that's kind of an ongoing process. And that's kind of, that onus of responsibility kind of falls with you as the commission to know your department heads and be having those conversations of identifying risks. Not just really financial data. I mean, that's what we're concerned with, but really the controls that are in place to protect both the employees and the county from anything happening. And then that second paragraph is just, and I think this wording is going to change. This came about because of COVID. Now you're tasked with identifying things that could happen or are happening that would prohibit you from continuing as a going concern. And the reason why I think that language is going to change is for governments, going concern really doesn't mean anything. If you have a money shortfall, you're probably going to get bailed out somewhere. I mean, there's ways or avenues that you're going to get funding that you're going to continue to operate as a government. I've never seen a government completely go out of business or a city just fold up and leave. I know during COVID there was a lot of struggles outside of Utah with a lot of local governments, but they ultimately got funding and they were able to continue to operate. So I think that wording is more going to change. It's identifying things that are significantly going to impact you as a community in a negative fashion, whether there's a decrease in property taxes, whether you're reliant on grants, and those grants all of a sudden leave. If you have a large taxpayer like IPP or this new development that's going to happen and they decide that they're going to walk away, that's a large hit to your revenue stream. So that's a negative impact that we just have to identify and then make notes on how you're going to handle that situation and what's going to happen in the future to replace those revenues. Our responsibilities in accordance or for the audit are outlined in the next section, and you'll notice that last bullet point is we're also looking for negative type trends that signify those types of events. So we also have that responsibility. And then required supplementary information, there are a couple of sections in your financial statements that do not fall under opinion. They're considered unaudited sections of the financial statements, and that's the management's discussion analysis that always follows the audit report and precedes the actual statements. And then after the notes to the financial statements, there's a section called required supplementary information, and that contains budget information as well as the URS pension information. That's actually going to beef up in the next couple of years. There's going to be more information in the required supplementary information. The reason why it doesn't fall under our opinion is they're not considered part of the basic financial statements. But GASB, which is our governing body, requires that that information always accompany the financial statements because it gives them more readability and understandability.
So give us an example, what areas are there?
So it's the management discussion analysis that immediately follows this report, so starting on page 5. So that section, and it goes through page 14. And then after the notes on page 44, or let's see. Sorry, my eyes are bad today. 46. So the modified approach, the general fund budget schedule, the special revenue fund budget schedule, and then the URS pension schedules. So those are what are contained in those sections. And when I say it gives them more readability, what I like to tell people is if you don't like to get in the weeds and get down in the numbers, you're not a numbers person, then the management discussion analysis is a good place to read because there's a lot of comparative data between last year and this year, and then things about why things changed. The management discussion analysis is kind of a narrative, whereas the financial statements are pretty raw numbers. So that's why they want it accompanying the financial statements, is because it gives it that kind of that qualitative rather than just pure quantitative analysis. But those areas are considered unaudited. And then there's supplementary information. The supplementary information does have an opinion. It always follows what the opinion is on the financial statements. And those sections are the combining statements for your non-major funds. And I'll explain that if you want to turn to page, let's see. So if you turn to page 15, 14, well, page 15. And I just realized that this page got cut off, so I'm gonna have to have these, they didn't rotate the page, so I'm gonna have to have them reprint, Bonnie. If you look, these are all of your governmental funds. So your general fund, which is your main
What page
operating.
you on now?
Oh, sorry, page 15. So this is your governmental fund statements. So the first column is your general fund, that's your main operating fund. Then you have the Class B road fund. So all of the funds after the general fund are set up for specific reasons. Either they're tracking a revenue like Class B revenue, or a debt service type fund, capital projects. Those all happen outside of the general fund, but the general fund is the main operating fund. And then you'll see that second to last column is other governmental funds. So in our analysis of all of your funds, we have to classify your funds as either major or non-major. Major being that they have 10% or more of either assets, liabilities, equity, or revenue compared to all the other funds. And if they don't, then they're considered non-major. That just means that they don't get presented as their own column on the financial statements. They get lumped into one column on the balance sheet. However, as a county, you've chosen to show the detail of all those funds, and that's considered supplementary information because that's information that you've chosen to include inside your basic financial statements. And that's why it falls under our opinion, because we still are giving an opinion on all of the funds. The other supplementary information is the federal single audit. That's required outside of the basic financial statements. It's actually a separate audit. We just do them concurrently because it saves us time and it saves you money. And we're part of having a single audit is having an audit done on your financial statements anyways, and so it's easier for us to do it all together. But they are separate audits, so that's considered supplementary information required by an outside party. All right, if you want to flip back to page 65, I'll be quick on this report. This report just outlines that we've performed your audit in accordance with government auditing standards. There are different standards when we're doing a government audit versus a nonprofit or a private company. Part of that is we're looking specifically at your internal controls. We don't give an opinion because we don't test your controls enough to give an opinion. However, if we find material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, we're required to report them as part of this report, but we didn't find any. So we're going to move on from that report. On page 67 is the report we're required to issue for the state auditor every year. Every year, the state auditor issues a compliance guide. of areas that they feel are either important enough that we look at it every year, or areas where they've had consistent problems with Utah code. So we do give an opinion here, and this is opinion on your compliance as well as your control over the Utah State Code. However, it's very specific to these 6 areas that are listed here. So your budget integrity, fund balance limitations and deficit fund balances, the fraud risk assessment, restricted taxes, justice courts, and then government fees. Those were the areas that were applicable to you this year. And that's also an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. So nothing that we really need to talk about there. If you want to turn to page 69, so 2 pages over, this report is required to be sent to the federal government. This is a report on your federal single audit. So because you spend more than $750,000 in a year, then you're required to have a federal single audit. And what we're looking at here is specifically the federal awards that you spent. So we're looking each individual grant, we look it up in our compliance supplement, and all of the compliance requirements associated with each one of those grants, we make sure that you're in compliance, and also that you have controls to make sure that the county continues to be in compliance with any federal awards that you get and you spend. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you're not going to spend $750,000. In fact, the limit starting last October changed to $1 million. So now as long as it's new money, they call it new money or old money. If the grant was awarded or the contract was signed after October 1st, then the limit is $1 million. That's for the future, but this is also an unmodified or an unqualified opinion as well. So another clean opinion. If you want to look at page 71, this is your schedule of federal awards. So you can see that you have a couple of small grants, but then the major grants that you had were the ARPA money. I think that's kind of the tail end of your ARPA money. And then there was an NRCS grant that was $781,000. That became the major program this year. And so that was the program that was tested. If you want to turn to page 72, it kind of gives a summary of the results. So this is what we have to send to the federal government. We have to outline all of this for the federal government. The first section talks about our financial statement audit. The second section talks about the federal award audit, or the single audit. So on the financial statements, we issued an unmodified opinion. There were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that we needed to report, and there weren't any non-compliance related material to the financial statements. And there were no, so now the federal awards, there were no material weaknesses found, no significant deficiencies reported. And then we gave an unmodified opinion on the major program that we tested. And you can see
So I
right,
have a
yeah,
question on that NRCS, is that?
yep, that's the watershed. Yep.
Where do you get that?
Yep. And then you can see right there, the dollar threshold for the type A and type B programs are $750,000. That's what the federal single audit limit was last year. And then the last one, really, everybody gets hung up on this one, but it really doesn't mean anything to you. It shouldn't mean anything to you guys. The terminology they use is you're either low risk or you're not low risk. To become low risk, you have to have a single audit in each of the prior 2 years, and they have to be timely filed, and there can be no findings. So that's how you become low risk. And all that really means is, for us as auditors, then we have less coverage that we have to test as part of your single audit in order to get enough coverage for them to be satisfied that the compliance and everything is in order. So if you were
So if you're low risk, you've kind of proven yourself in the
Yeah.
past.
Yep. So we have quite a few clients, like, you know, if it's a first year single audit, you're not going to be low risk. So we have to test over 50% of your federal awards. If you're not low risk, then that drops down to 30%. So if it means more, we have a couple clients that have $400 million in federal awards. And so we're testing, you know, over $200 million of federal awards, and that's 50, 60 programs.
You know, I've sat through a few of these, a couple, not a lot, but it seems like you're having to cast an audit a lot more than what you was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's changing.
I mean, this book seems a lot better.
Yeah, they're always
So,
changing
seems
them.
like the
There's-
requirements are just a lot of,
Yeah, and it's funny because we were just having this conversation not too, because there's a lot of firms in the state that still they'll do tax season and then they'll do government audits in the summer. And that's how I started out, because we were a small firm and we did tax season, and then in the summertime we did government audits. And so we changed, 5, 6 years ago to where we're 100% government auditors now. And things have changed so much
it seems like we're doing a lot
that
more.
you really can't
The
do
requirements
both.
are a lot more
Yeah.
different than they was
Yep.
just 4 or 5 years ago.
Especially with the federal government, and now with the new administration, I think you're gonna see a lot more requirements, because they wanna know where is this money going and how is it being spent, so,
Feels like it never ends.
yeah. Bonnie knows, she calls me quite a bit and asks me questions, and, all right, so,
Because they spent a lot of money and they couldn't find it, is that?
federal government, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why.
All right.
I'm not gonna go through the stapled together paper. It's pretty standard. This is standard language that we have to communicate to you at the end of our audit. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Most of it's outlined in our engagement letter, or, there weren't any concerns during the audit. Now just maybe a recommendation. It's gonna kinda seem out of the blue, cause I'm not a techie guy.
Are your recommendations in here?
No, because this is not gonna be part of the audit, so there's no findings, nothing part of
So
that.
in the audit, no findings?
No findings, yep.
Recommendations, okay.
One of the things that is hitting the governments really hard, and this is one of the things that I've been asked to do trainings on the most recently, is cybersecurity. And in most of our rural counties, you've kind of been protected from that because you're rural. And, typically we were seeing it, along the Wasatch Front, where there was a lot more technology being used. People are on the internet a lot more. However, as you guys know, with internet, with AI, the world's a really small place. You really can't hide from the internet anymore. Local governments are specifically being targeted right now, whether it's through phishing or smishing, which I had no idea what smishing was.
So,
but-
yeah, cybersecurity means people accessing our accounts?
Yes,
And you,
data.
I mean, is that what
Yep.
you're,
so,
is that kind of like what you're referring
Yes.
to, tapping in? And
so.
Is it hard to recognize sometimes, or if that happened, would Bonnie immediately know, or what? I mean,
Depends. We did have a.
there's ways they can get around it and you don't recognize it,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, there was a data breach, I don't know, I guess a year ago, when someone got control of my computer and was emailing people in our, internally, saying, hey, I need, information to send for this grant. I mean, it looked legitimate, but it certainly wasn't. I wasn't asking, they were asking for bank account information, I think. I mean, it was a little frightening, and, Richard was, at the time, was running around, and Brian, and, trying to figure it out, and, it happens, and just, I'm friends with Shirlene. She's the Box County, Box Elder County auditor, and they had a major data breach over the weekend.
So let me ask you this, is there some kind of, do we belong, or is there some kind of insurance for that, or state or federal government provides?
So
me?
there
Because-
is, I mean,
Or are we basically, if that happened, are we responsible for the loss? or-
yes and no.
I would
mean,
think there might be some kind of insurance to back up government.
you do, I mean, USIP has built in
Okay, so they build
somewhat
in
into the insurance, right? So,
insurance, but,
I mean, and I don't want to give you so much info. I don't want to take a
No,
lot of
don't
time
give me
on this
too
because,
much.
like, I mean, if you guys want more information, I'm more than happy to come
yeah,
down and do a
I don't
training
need that
for.
much.
But what you need to watch for are ACH and wire transfers.
Yeah,
Typically, what happens is somebody is going to get sent an email or something with a link, they're gonna click on the link, that gives them access. But the link, like Bonnie was saying, we get them all the time I'll have another partner that will send me an email, looks just like his email, because most of the time our emails now only have our names. It doesn't have the whole email address. And so if you ever question anything, if you click on the whole email address, it typically will have a different extension on the email address. So it'll come up as Bill Wright, but it's not gonna be Bill Wright at millard.us.utah.gov. It's gonna be Bill Wright at
So they can't find it.
Verizon or whatever. And so you know right then that that's a phishing email. They don't really necessarily, they're sending out thousands and thousands and thousands, and that's why they call it phishing, is because they're just throwing it out there, hoping that somebody responds. The biggest thing that we're seeing right now, and this is what we've been trying to get the information out there, is they will basically hijack and ransom your data. Which is, you have no access to your system. Everybody gets locked out of the system. They have control of your data.
Is that happening a lot?
It actually is, yeah. So, and it's been happening for a while, but now they're targeting governments. And the reason why is, governments have a significantly less amount of time to respond before you lose your money. A typical consumer has about 60 days. If you find fraud on your credit card, you're gonna have 60 days to respond to that and say, hey, I don't know what these charges are, I think it's fraudulent, and then you recover that money. A government only has 48 hours. And you have to report it within the first 24 hours to start the process. So you really only have a 24-hour window to recognize that something's happening. Now, if they hijack your data, they're gonna say, you pay us $200,000 or you're not getting your data back, and we're just gonna put it out on the web, right? So the way you mitigate that is you need to be having continuous backup. So you need to have live backups happening constantly. So if something happens, you basically tell them to pound sand. You don't care because you have a live backup that you could just continue operating. If you don't have that live backup, you're shut down for at least 30 days because it's gonna take that long, and then you're gonna have to figure out, okay, are we gonna have to pay the money, or what are we gonna have to do? So just making you aware of it. There is a concern with governments, because governments typically are more archaic when it comes to technology than private companies. The governments don't wanna, there's not enough funding in the governments to put towards really protecting yourselves. Anyway.
Sorry, it's okay, so I've been involved quite a bit with a lot of this kind of information, cybersecurity, trying to harden our defenses, because we obviously have quite a bit of interest in that. That was definitely part of the conversation, our bringing on the new IT company, Tech Legion. So they are actively working towards bettering our processes that way. There are trainings that are available out there that we can send out to all staff, whether it's a simple training email of if they click the link, then it takes them to a page that says, oops, you shouldn't have clicked the link, and now you take the training, right? So those are all things for us to be watching, being aware of, because we have a major concern in that stuff. And that really should be where we put some funding to harden our defenses, so that we put more funding to it now, so we don't have a significant expenditure later to try and recoup a loss. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, so I don't have a concern right now with the county, just making you aware that you need to start having those conversations. That needs to be a primary focus of, changing your emails to .gov is, there are still governments in Utah that will not change to .gov, because .gov actually has security parameters built into it. That's why they want everybody to move to the .gov, but everybody says, I don't want to change my emails, it's too hard. But anyway, like you were saying, it's change. It's recognizing, there's going to be more security. For me to even log into for me to work, I have to go through 5 logins. And so I keep telling my IT guy, like, stop, my brain doesn't work like this. And he's like, it's going to get worse. It's going to be to the point where we have to have 15-digit passwords that are totally random, because they've done analysis and they know the number of characters, and I think they said that 15 characters with numbers and letters and symbols is it would take them like, I think it's like 200,000 years to crack that. And so that's why they've set it at that versus, you know, a short pass where they can typically do it in about 10 minutes. So anyway, just wanted to make you aware of it, that's out there. I mean, I'm happy to come down and do staff trainings. It sounds like you guys have a tech company that will do the trainings. I think that's a great thing that they're doing that for the employees. Our tech guys do the same thing. They'll send out phishing emails, and if any of us happen to click on it, then we get a phone call that says, by the way, you just clicked on the wrong email, and so now you have to do a training. So it's training the staff, and it's random. It could be on your phone. That's what the smishing is you're getting them on your phone now as text messages. UPS is trying to deliver a package, or FedEx, or hey, how are you? It's not a Saudi prince trying to get money anymore. They're very creative with the way they're doing it. It seems very, you know, innocent, and so you click on something and then they have access to your data. So just be aware of it. Just making all of the counties and governments aware, so they at least start thinking about it and put the wheels in motion to protect, because there have been some very significant ones across the country that were hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of ransom payments that have had to be paid because they had their data. That's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And Bonnie, we appreciate all you do in your office. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can only do that. And then I'll go to Travis. DNR guy in the back. What's your name? Are you on the agenda? Because Copeland said he wasn't on the agenda. Then I saw you in the back, and I want to make sure that you're still not on the agenda. Okay.
By the way, we know that if we ever get an email that says it's from Bill Wright, that somebody's fishing.
That's right. We all know that. That's actually why it has us going.
This is a residential subdivision, plat subdivision over by Scipio. And that's the requirements, county commission signed it. So we need to get signatures from. Legislative body.
Okay, Travis, wanna come give us an update? Sorry, I told you we'd be a little longer, so I'm glad you didn't show up right on time.
Yeah, you're just fine. Hi, Commissioners, good afternoon. Travis Kill, I'm the Executive Director of the R6 Regional Council. Happy to spend a little bit of time with you today. First, just want to say thank you. I've been on record before, so I'm fine saying it again. Your job sucks, and it's really hard. So I do applaud you and appreciate what you do as elected officials. It's not a fun job, but you're really good at it, so we appreciate you doing that. Lots of stuff happening at R6, as always. A couple things just want to remind you of. So our budget year is different than yours. We are on a fiscal year, July to June. We went through our budget process with Commissioner Johnson back in May and June. You know, so our county allocations go out, start July 1st. But again, we float those dollars all the way through the end of this calendar year. And you guys put that in your budget, right? So we totally get it, right? You can't approve those dollars in June when we do our budget. But we make you aware of those and you guys give us any feedback at that time.
No reductions in fees.
No reductions in fees, but we are happy. We have not raised county allocation since 2019. So we're going on 6 years now without changing those
I know, you
fees.
just
So.
give us more jobs.
I thought it was a little less.
So yours actually, so they only change based on population, right? So the formula is based on population. So I say yours didn't change, it changed by $600, right? So
Down?
it went up $600.
We had a few
Maybe it
people
went
move
down.
in.
Did it go down? Maybe it went down. Yeah, it might have gone down, so.
So when we get all these data center people in, we're gonna raise our fee to you guys and
Well, I think we raise our fee to you because you'll have all the money. No, I'm just
you're
kidding.
gonna
So,
raise your fee.
yeah, you guys are great. So, so just as a reminder again to your staff and stuff, so we send that invoice out in the spring, right, in January, just that, one time a year. So, just be aware of that. Sent you an email. Sadly, we ended up canceling the congressional briefing event this year. Not super happy about that, but it was the right move. Congressman Malloy, as you know, really wanted to bring out some members this year and try to build relationships amongst our Utah members with other members. It's just crazy enough in DC right now that nobody will talk to her, and as far as their schedule in August, and she finally called me a few weeks back and said it's just not gonna work. She felt really bad about it and apologized, but said it was not going to work. So we were meeting again to focus on next year, what we can do, and probably just kind of switch back to what we were really good at and really successful with. We've got the Crown Houses here in Fillmore. Those are our rent-to-own homes. We have them all across the 6-county region. We've got 6 being built right now here in Fillmore. Those are nearing completion, so those are a great program, really nice. Again, single-family house, big, nice yard. We're the landlord basically for 15 years, and they get sold to somebody. Hopefully the tenant. They are. Yep, up here on the northeast end of town. So, and they look great. We've ran that program for a long time. This is the second set that we've sold here in Fillmore. We've had them in Delta and sold those over there, and just love to see those keep going. So, on the multifamily housing world, we are a partner with a developer, the same developer we worked with in Richfield on a project here in Fillmore. We work with Fillmore a lot on that, and then over in Hinckley, they just got awarded some tax dollars for over there for a project as well. Again, these are nice. It goes back to your conversation I came in on a little bit earlier. These type of projects are great for the community, great for the county. They're going to happen with or without us, but by us being part of it, we get a say in how things are done. The one in Richfield's been extremely successful. It's really nice. It's really clean. It's ran and managed really, really well. And so the communities are happy about that, seeing those come, but just be aware that we're working on those. We did finally expand our nonprofit, so our 501c3 arm of our agency was just for housing. We've seen enough need for community development, economic development, and other things that we've gone through a process to change that nonprofit to cover all of those things. And so any of our counties, cities that could benefit from dollars through a nonprofit, we can serve that purpose as well. Abby's asked for that a bunch as she's looking at foundation grants and stuff for the counties, that we need a 501c3 nonprofit to pass those dollars through, and so be aware we've made that change with our nonprofit. Abby's really busy, as you know. She does a great job. Jess Peterson, our community advisor assigned to your county, is swamped with doing a lot of different planning things. I know they both try to coordinate with Adam as much as they can, and love working with him, and we appreciate him. I just always want to make sure you know I'm an open book. We're an open book as an agency. We all work for you. And so I want to make sure that both Abby and Jess and myself and all of our team are doing what you want us to be doing, working and communicating really well with Adam on what he wants them to do. And so if there's ever a situation where you feel like, gosh, they're not going the right direction, or I wish we wouldn't have done this, please just, call me and chat with me. But as of right now, I think things are going really well. So, Doug asked me to mention senior nutrition. That's a swear word most of the counties I go to, but he wanted me to make sure you knew.
We don't swear,
Thank you, I appreciate that here in Millard County. Meals were up year over year last year, as well as donations were up, which was great. We are cleaning out our books officially, and I think he sent you all an email. You will see a small check come from us just to clean out the last of the dollars that we were kind of hanging on to through the transition there. But, meals being up that's telling us it's working. People are coming. You'd want me to mention to you so obviously that program gets audited. All of our programs get audited, just like you guys heard from yours. The state auditor still does not love that Millard County requires a receipt for the donations. And so they really want those to be 100% anonymous. Nobody to feel like their donations being tracked or recorded. And it sounds like, you do have a county policy, which don't shoot the messenger, I'm just passing it along, that you have to give a receipt for every donation. And so we did get written up in our report. The state hopes that maybe you'll consider changing that. Other counties that have a similar policy as far as giving a receipt for all donations, they just carved out a little sentence or two in their policy that said for the senior nutrition program, they didn't have to give a receipt. The Older Americans Act really requires that those donations are anonymous. So there's something to think about.
Can you deduct them without a receipt?
You donate a bunch, you better get a receipt so you can take it off your taxes.
Yeah, and I don't know, if somebody, if it's
I'm
really.
sure all of them don't think they're doing
Right.
it, so
Yeah.
they can deduct them, but
Correct.
obviously,
If they want it for tax
if
purposes,
you
they'll
wanna
need one.
deduct it, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, I think if
get
you
a
give them the
receipt.
option, would be a great policy. You make a great point. If somebody wants a receipt so they can do that, then provide one. But if not, don't make people take a receipt, I guess, so.
It's not mandatory.
Yeah, not mandatory.
But it's you that got written up, not us.
Correct. Yep. So, Agri-Park, we're still under contract on the 920 acres in Juab County from Sitla. They're doing a study on it right now, trying to finalize all of that stuff, all the red tape on that, but we think end of October we'll be able to close on that property. Lots of interest in private funds and all kinds of stuff, so we're excited, obviously, to have a place to call home.
What policies are they using? Is it a lease, is it a percentage, or what is the charge for
For Sitla,
that? Yes. Are they just giving it to us?
we're purchasing the land.
We're buying it now?
Correct. Yeah, they really wanted us to lease it, but we really wanted to buy it.
Good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They like leases better.
Yeah. So
But not
that's
knowing what's gonna go there, it'd be hard to.
right. Yep. So we'll own that property.
You got water?
That is all that's on my list. We do have water, as well as the plan really there would be to tie into Nephi City's system. That location is great because we can tie into, the hope is to tie into their power as well with, rather than Rocky Mountain Power, it would take, Rocky Mountain Power won't even look at us right now, anything over 25.
They don't have no power.
Yeah, so anyway, that we're happy with the location, that the communication and the working with Nephi City as well as with the county, it's looking optimistically really good.
So Nephi City has plenty of water?
They do,
Good.
yep. And we're told plenty of power, so cross your fingers. So anyway, other than that, everything's going really good. Obviously, on top of all of those things, the staff, here in the Fillmore office continue to run our other 55 state and federal programs to your constituents here in the county. Lots of great things going on there. Happy to answer any questions or take direction from you, but just wanted to give you an update on everything going on at R6 and tell you thanks for what you do.
I have a question I was asking.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Well, thanks
Okay.
for coming and sharing the information.
Yeah, thank you guys for what you do. Appreciate you. Call anytime. You know that.
discussion of possible approval of cross-access easement with UDOT.
I'm
Just
good.
mention your name and
I'm
who you're
good.
with.
April Mullins. We are the new owners of the property. So I feel a little unprepared. I just knew that. Peterson. Well, and that's what we weren't sure on, because nobody really, we didn't know what that route was. So I'm in touch with UDOT to get, we're working on getting an access, but I didn't know what all we need to do with the county. So that's
Where's the
what I figured.
property at?
400 north, 1100 west.
Is this down by the transfer station?
Do you want me to, I've got a picture on my phone, if that's helpful, to show
Yeah.
you what we're working on.
Okay, didn't we talk about this before? Okay, I think I know where it's at then.
So you have to go across county property to get to the.
Okay, so it's not over here, right? Because I think that's where it was last time he was here, that's. Here, I don't think they, Anna, does she need anything
We
with us?
won't need anything from us.
Because
You know, there's not anything from us. I think there was a question initially,
they changed it from the one corner, because now we're not involved in it.
right, the initial discussion, I think the county, had over that half the road, potentially.
Yeah, the initial
Yeah.
discussion was that we do half the road, and as far as us
Now they've
just
moved the
having
access
an
to the
access, we
east
don't,
corner instead of
UDOT
the
can
west corner.
appropriate, UDOT can approve that.
Require anything, they are the property,
So if it's where, if you're trying to gain access where your thick red line was, you're good on our end. So when Mark came in the last time, he had where your access point was over
Further to the west.
west, where it bordered our property.
Right,
And that's take part of the county property to use for the road.
okay,
And so he was asking.
if that's, okay,
But
and that's,
now if you've got there on that east end of that property, that's solely your property, and we don't,
okay,
you should be able to do whatever they try to do.
that's what I was coming to clarify.
Just work with UDOT, if you're working with UDOT, I mean,
That was all I needed to know.
that's a state road, so we have no authority.
Okay, so in any other things that we would need approval,
No, you
Once we're
should be
there,
good on
we're good to
that.
go.
As long as you don't move it back to that other side and don't take care of the piece of property. You should be good with that.
I think
Okay.
UDOT will just tell you that you have to have a certain grade and certain,
right,
yeah,
right,
anyway.
right, just for, okay,
So countywide, you're good.
all right, perfect,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Yeah.
No worries, I just thought I better at least see what's going on with it.
Kev,
Clarify, thank you.
Kevin and Rachel, are you okay with a 5 or 10 minute break before we hit you guys? You're county employees, so I'm giving you the option, but.
You can have it upstairs,